Tonight, sad news in the search for 5-year-old Frank Young.
And my heart, when I saw him coming out of there, I'm sorry. It just, memories that you try to put behind you, but you can't.
A Gunnissatage Mohawk family files a human rights complaint over the medical treatment of their patriarch.
Birth, new life, new hope, strength, resilience, all the things that we as First Nations people have endured for hundreds of years. And Buffalo has shown us the way.
And new bison calves are restoring hope on a Saskatchewan First Nation. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. Some sad news coming out of Saskatchewan over the weekend. Searchers found the remains of 5-year-old Frank Young in the river not far from where he went missing on the Red Earth Cree Nation. He had been missing since April 19th, when he was last seen playing outside of his home. Officials are expected to hold a news conference tomorrow. Tributes are pouring in on social media. One family in Muskwacheese, Alberta is urging everyone to leave their porch light on and a stuffed animal outside so Frank can follow the light and begin his journey to the spirit world. More than 600 volunteers searched for the little boy. It's been over a year since the Nelson family of Gunnissatage Mohawk territory in Quebec filed a human rights complaint over their patriarch's treatment at a hospital just outside their community. They're worried he might not live to see a formal apology made or restitution paid. Lindsay Richardson explains.
These are the things Winston Nelson really loves. His baseball hats, sun on his face, and his wife, Cheryl.
Wave, all the people out in the world. There we go.
They've been inseparable for 31 years.
We used to come home every night, I have supper ready, we'd eat, and then we'd go out either on the gallery or go across the street to the Dairy Queen. We loved it. We used to go play bowling. Bowling, okay, we used to go bowling too.
But life looks different today. 3 strokes and a list of chronic illnesses permanently affected Winston's mobility and speech. Cheryl is now his full-time caretaker.
Yeah, she does a lot for me.
The Nelsons are no strangers to a hospital environment, but in early 2021, after a stint hospitalized at the St. Eustache Hospital, Cheryl got a call every loved one dreads.
And told me that my husband had a very, very, very sick heart, and that 3 of his main arteries are totally blocked. And I asked, you couldn't give like a stent? Or he says, no. I said, open heart.
Winston was allegedly ordered to live his last days back in Gunnissatage, in a house ravaged by mold. Also at issue is how he was sent home.
And my heart, when I saw him coming out of there, I'm sorry. It just, memories that you try to put behind you, but you can't.
Cheryl alleges Winston was discharged in the dead of winter, wearing just a hospital gown, socks, and a diaper. His coat and clothing handed to Cheryl in bags.
They took the blanket that he did have on him off of him to bring back inside.
That's as much of an apology as the Nelsons ever received. In an email to APTN News, the regional health authority overseeing St. Eustache Hospital said the incident was investigated internally and found to be both inadequate and insensitive. They claim it's an issue of staff inexperience rather than discrimination. But with the help of the Centre for Research Action on Race Relations, or CRAR, the Nelsons filed a complaint and request for compensation with the Quebec Human Rights Commission. But it's gone untouched for over a year.
It's going to be quite a challenge, and the delay doesn't help. But we're trying to push for the case to proceed, given the health situation of Mr. Nelson.
Quebec's healthcare system post-pandemic is under immense strain. The coroner's inquest examining Joyce Echaquan's death at Joliet Hospital found she was victim to systemic discrimination in healthcare. Niemi says more people are coming forward through CAR with similar complaints. But how do you prove systemic racism is the root of the problem?
We have to look at anecdotal evidence. We have to look at basically stories and reports and the narratives from other people from the same community or from the same group that have similar stories to tell.
The reputation of St. Eustache Hospital is well known within Gunazadage, especially for frontliners like Rob Bonspiel, who runs the community's ambulance service.
90% of the calls that come out of our community are transported to St. Eustache. There's a lot of individuals who have voiced their disapproval as to the service that they're getting at the hospital. This in light of what happened with the Joyce Echaquan situation and the like. Language is a huge issue. That seems to be the biggest factor when it comes to complaints coming from the community.
After Joyce Echaquan died, Quebec announced a number of cultural safety measures to correct these issues, including the hiring of interpreters or cultural navigators. But it's too late for the Nelsons, who say they'll never go back.
You can't do that. You can't do that to people. You can't do that to their minds. And you can't call up people and say, hey, guess what? Come take your husband home because he's dying.
We contacted the Quebec Human Rights Commission for a status update on Winston's file, but they refused comment, citing confidentiality. Cheryl says she'll keep fighting for Winston while caring for him at home. After all, she took a vow, until death do them part. Lindsay Richardson, APTN National News, Gunazadage, Mohawk Territory.
Former AFN Regional Vice Chief Morley Gugu was found not guilty of sexual assault on Friday. Gugu is the former chief of the Waikogama First Nation and formerly AFN Vice Chief for Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. Gugu was accused of sexually assaulting a woman in his home one evening in March 2013. The woman cannot be identified due to a publication ban. She testified in the Waigama-Cook Provincial Court last April that she went to Gugu's home to discuss community programs where the assault allegedly happened. Gugu testified he was rarely home while he was regional chief and denied he sexually assaulted the woman. Judge Shane Russell in a Sydney, Nova Scotia court said the Crown failed to prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt. Outrage over wedding photos with a Thunder Bay police officer in front of a crime scene. That story coming up. Stick around. Welcome back. A proposed open-pit mineral mine is one step closer to being a reality in the Yukon. But as Sarah Connors tells us, one affected First Nation says they weren't properly consulted.
These photos show an exploration camp for a potential mine in southeastern Yukon. The Kutsakaya project is a proposed open-pit mineral mine by BMC Minerals. Its location is in the heart of the Kutsakaya area, an important winter habitat for the Finlayson caribou herd. Chief Dylan Loblaw of the Ross River Dennock Council says the herd is cherished by the Kaska people.
We hold our rights to manage the herd, and the area is very sacred to our nation.
There are currently no active mines on Kaska territory in the Yukon. If approved, the project would entail the construction of various on-site activities, including a processing mill and power generation. There are also concerns the mine would encroach on the Finlayson herd, which has declined from 6,000 animals in 1990 to around 2,700.
Well, yeah, we're definitely worried about the Finlayson caribou herd. I think they're already listed as a species of special concern.
But last month, the federal and Yukon territorial governments advanced the mine to the regulatory process, the next step in getting the project approved.
We were pretty shocked to hear the decision.
Loblaw says Ross River agreed to engage in processes to identify environmental impacts of the mine. On June 14th, Ross River, along with Liard First Nation, submitted what they call a comprehensive 48-page document outlining their concerns about the mine to decision bodies. But Loblaw says despite submitting the document, the mine advanced to the regulatory stage.
So the process that has been dropped on us hasn't reflected our inherent rights and interests, including our governance rights, our stewardship laws.
Keith McGuire is Director of Major Projects Yukon. He says the June 14th document reiterated concerns the decision bodies were already aware of, which they took into consideration when moving the project ahead.
In making the decision, we felt that we had sufficient information to make the decision that we had, recognizing that we were moving into, and it would enable a regulatory review, which would of course include ongoing consultation.
The decision document acknowledges the two First Nations expressed concerns about caribou, fish, and wildlife. However, it provides several measures to mitigate concerns, like creating an oversight body to monitor the herd.
And the decision bodies considered those terms and conditions and varied them so that they would address further some of the concerns that we had heard in consultation.
But Loblaw still has questions about those measures.
And we didn't think that the mitigation measures being put into place would be enough to sustain the aquatic life and the biodiversity that thrives in the area, specifically the caribou herd.
As for BMC Minerals, they say they remain committed to ensuring that Casca are true partners in the development of the project. Meanwhile, Ross River is working with membership on next steps. Loblaw says decision bodies need to better involve Casca First Nations as the mine progresses.
We'd just like to see a meaningful consultation, a meaningful relationship with our counterparts moving forward.
Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
A Thunder Bay man says he feels sick after watching a city police officer posing for photos with a wedding party in front of a crime scene. In a statement released on Monday, city police say, quote, "This was an impromptu situation where the bride approached the officer and requested a photo be taken in the cruiser." Dave Gilbo says he was going to Thunder Bay's Marina Park to show support for the family of a young lady whose body was discovered in the park on Friday. Police have only said it is an ongoing sudden death investigation into a deceased adult female. When Gilbo arrived, he saw a wedding party taking pictures in front of the crime scene. His post on Facebook has been shared nearly 1,000 times. His post ends, "Now I got you all on pictures and video, laughing at a Native girl's crime scene." Thunder Bay Police spokesperson Chris Adams released a statement on Monday saying, quote, "There was no intent to cause any indignity or disrespect to anyone based on where the officer was located. Public interactions with our officers who are parked or situated in settings which have a high number of pedestrians, such as a park, are quite common." The statement says, "We understand that the bride had a connection to a retired police officer and that the acting police chief of the embattled police service reminded officers that, quote, while public interactions are encouraged, there may be times where these contacts can be viewed as insensitive." The incident comes as the Thunder Bay Police Services Board independent expert panel is holding community consultations in the city. The panel will speak with the media on Thursday. Inuktitut is now available as an official language setting for desktop Facebook users. Nunavut Tungavik President Aluki Koterik led the change when she met with Meta in 2017 and advocated for the popular social media site to be translated into Inuktitut. The translation was led by the Pirovik Center, a language training center based in Iqaluit. About 4,500 words needed to be translated. Koterik says the move supports the NTI's efforts to revitalize and promote the Inuit language.
I'm excited because I will learn new terminology. I mean, I already think I have pat down puyuk, meaning like, but I will be checking out the other the other terminology that's being used. Well, I think the big message in having such a big social media platform available in our language sends the message that our language, Inuktitut, is as valuable and as useful and as valid as other languages that are being used in 2022.
Wildfire season is heating up in the Yukon. That story and more coming up. Welcome back. Time now to take a look at our photo of the day. Our regular viewer Dave Menzies sent in this shot of the cloud coverage over Steinbach, Manitoba, early in the evening on Saturday. Peeking through the clouds, we can see the moon. Such a great shot. Thanks, Dave. If you have a great photo, send it by email to share@aptn.ca for the chance to be featured as our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, 25 in Halifax, 27 in Fredericton, 17 and sunny in Kuujjuaq, rain in Nain and a high of 11, 24 in Montreal, showers, and 22 in Val-d'Or, 18 with rain in Sault Ste. Marie, rain, and 22 for North Bay, 25 with showers in Thunder Bay, 21 and rain in Sioux Lookout, 24 for God's Lake and Norway House, 23 in Churchill, 25 in Winnipeg, 26 in Dauphin, 30 and sunny in Regina, sun's out, and 32 in Saskatoon, 24 in Uranium City, 31 in Meadow Lake. In northern Alberta, 26 for Fort McMurray, showers, and 18 in Grand Prairie. Sunny and 33 in Lethbridge, 32 for Edmonton. Sun's out, and 23 for Vancouver, 34 in Kamloops. 17 with showers in Prince George, 22 in Fort Nelson. 19 in Old Crow, showers, and 13 for Whitehorse. Rain and 20 for Yellowknife and Norman Wells. 17 in Sax Harbor, 25 for Pawlatuck. 22 in Chesterfield and Arviette, 26 in Baker Lake. 15 in Resolute and Arctic Bay. The Yukon is used to battling wildfires this time of year, but due to an unusual number of lightning strikes in recent weeks, wildfires are now burning across the territory. As Sarah Connors tells us, First Nations people are doing their best to stay safe.
This video shows the Crystal Creek wildfire near Stewart Crossing, Yukon. The fire is one of 166 active wildfires in the territory. According to the Yukon government, over 21,000 lightning strikes have caused around 130 wildfires since June 29th. Some wildfires have led to highway closures and community evacuation alerts.
I think the past week has been pretty unsettling for people.
One of those evacuation alerts have been issued for the community of Mayo, which is home to the Notcho-Nayakdun First Nation. Notcho-Nayakdun citizen Joella Hogan says last week there was uncertainty about the fires due to a lack of information and telecommunications problems. While she notes community members are feeling less panicked now, they aren't out of the woods yet.
People now, definitely it's the topic of conversation, where the fires are and what cabins are at risk and what would you do? Everybody's saying, is your bag packed? Is your bag packed?
So far, the wildfires have burned over 100,000 total hectares, and the territory is continuing to see new wildfires every day. The territorial government has set up an emergency shelter at the Canada Game Centre in Whitehorse to help people who might have to evacuate or are stranded from road closures. Crews from BC are also in the Yukon to help with the situation, including a fire camp in the community of Pelly Crossing. With rain and cooler temperatures expected this week, Hogan says people in Mayo are feeling optimistic.
And so people around town are definitely feeling a little bit better this morning, but we know the fires are still all burning around us. But in town, people seem to have a little bit more comfort or relief, I think, today.
Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
A sign of hope and restoration on the Cote First Nation in southeastern Saskatchewan. 7 months after several bred bison were brought to the reserve, they've delivered new life. APTN's Leanne Sanders reports.
These bison calves are fun to watch as they graze with their mothers nearby. But the birth of the calves and the reestablishment of the buffalo on traditional Indigenous land means much more to the chief of Cote First Nation.
Birth, new life, new hope, strength, resilience, all the things that we as First Nations people have endured for hundreds of years. The buffalo has shown us the way.
Chief Cote is also trying to show his people the way. He and the band leadership are pursuing initiatives to give hope to younger generations. One is the recent acquisition of a nearby Hutterite colony. Situated on what was historically Cote land, the colony presents new opportunities.
Our goal is to eventually farm our own land, and we need a base where we can park our equipment to do so. And we want to create jobs, and this property also has a very big community garden. And we have our own butcher shop as well, so that we can use when we decide to butcher the buffalo that we have, so that we can share it out to people. But our main goal is to try to be self-sufficient, so that we can generate enough revenue to subsidize some of the programs that we have in our community, and also to educate our people in how to farm, I guess you could say, and build some partnerships.
It was a partnership with a community development organization that brought the buffalo to Cote. Leader Lima Nanai says as an Indigenous person from Samoa living in Saskatchewan, he saw the importance of the bison to Canada's Indigenous peoples.
The more I read, the story about kill a buffalo, you kill an Indian. That really inspired me to, let's dream about returning something back. And that's why I do it, because I want the Indigenous people of the North to be proud of their culture and their identity and where they're from.
For Cote elder Reggie Severite, the buffalo bring joy. Once addicted, living on the streets of Winnipeg, he returned home and eventually got sober. He later worked as an addictions counselor and says it was evidence of the buffalo on their land that offered hope to one man he helped.
He said he was walking along the creek toward the river. And out of the banks of this creek, there was a horse sticking out. And when he pulled it out, there was a buffalo skull. So there was buffalo here. And that was his answer. He wanted a sign from the Creator that there is actually a higher power out there.
Leanne Sanders, APTN National News, Cote First Nation.
Great story. Well, that's all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Monday. For news anytime, you can visit our website, aptnnews.ca, and never miss a headline by downloading the APTN News app. I'm Dennis Ford. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you back here tomorrow.